Okay, I'm a bit of a hot mess right now, but this is going to be my first vlog I do, my first Wiccan vlog I do. But I'm on hiatus from my coven right now, and basically what that means is that I am stepping back and I'm doing some reflection and some self-taught education, and one of the books that I was reading is called Spiral Dance. I hope you can read it. And it's a rebirth of the ancient goddess. And this book is by Starhawk. And Starhawk is pretty well renowned. Most people know her, and I would say that this is a great book to start out with. What I do want, I've already, as you can tell, I've already started reading it. I'm about 70, 80, 83 pages into it, but something that I've been really thinking about and that's really sitting with me right now is one of the exercises that she's doing, and the exercise is called the Iron Pentagram, and what it is a meditation. And as with, I hope you know what a pentagram is, but if you don't, it's a star, and the points on it are sex, self, passion, pride, and power. And I've been really, she has a couple other ones that I definitely will be going over later. But I wanted this to be my first meditation that I talk about because it's something that has really been eating at me and really been like, okay, I need to figure this out. And basically, the pentagram is a meditative tool. And with each word, it's a point. It sits at a point. And so the first word, sex, would sit at the top point. And this is what I want to talk about first. And when I say sex, I don't mean physical sex. I mean basically everything that is a product of sex, but not physical sex, not like male and female reproductive sex. According to Starhawk, sex is the manifestation and the driving force of the universe. It is the polarity, the attraction of the god and goddess, the on and off pulse that sustains the universe, the orgasmic, ecstatic harmony that sings with each being. And I want to stop and I want to ask not only you but myself, what is sex and what is this definition of sex to me? And so I have my book of shadows, and I actually just started writing this one in it. And this is it for anyone. I got it in Salem, Massachusetts. And for a couple minutes, if you want to do this, just sit down and think about what you think it is and what you think it means to you. And for me, when thinking about it in the metaphysical terms and the New Age spiritual terms of sex, for me, it's the base of everything. It's nothing could come into creation without sex, without some sort of divine love. And in terms of the god and goddess, it definitely stands by itself in everything that it is and was and will be. And you can't have life without it. It's it's a fact. You can't. And for me, that's really elemental. If you sit down and you think of yourself, you are a product of sex. You are a product of physical love that was maybe not predetermined, but was definitely, hopefully, intentional. And to be created not only by your parents but by the gods above is really, that's true love. It's the beginning and end of everything. I haven't quite put my head around it, and I think that's why I wanted to put this in words, is that I don't know, on a metaphysical level, I don't quite know what else to write about it. And I've been really thinking about it and really trying to determine what else I should write, because there's more to it that I need to figure out myself. The next point of the star is self. And to Rosemary, and not Rosemary Gladstar, she's an herbalist. I will do, once I get her book, we'll talk about her. Self is, according to Starhawk, self is identity, individuality. Each of us is a unique manifestation of the goddess, and that individually is highly valued in the craft. Self-love is the foundation of all love. Celebrate yourself and you will see that self is everywhere. At this point, which is the next point, which would be looking at it as I have it written down, I'm going clockwise, so it would be the right point, is really, this one's going to be hard for me. I have a lot of depression and anxiety problems, and self-love has always been difficult, and having to take a step back and look at how I view myself and how being myself interacts with the world around me and with everything that's divine is really challenging for me, because even though we're small and we're virtually insignificant, there was so much that goes into creating us that is crazy to me. Even to the way your hair grows, down to the color of your eyes, to the way your teeth are, those were all details that make you who you are. And even though they're small and no one probably notices them, I know I notice them about myself, and I know that I'm not the only one that has a tendency to look more at my flaws than I do at the things that are good about me. And I think that really impacts not even in a Wiccan way, but just in the way you view the world and how the world views you. That's very much effective. I mean, this is, like I said, this is something that I have to work on. I know I'm not perfect. I know that I am far from being amazing and perfect and whatever, but I need to look at myself in more of a positive light. I need to say, I like how my hair grows, or I like the way my eyes look, or my skin isn't as bad as I think it is. For me, that's a really big problem, is that I notice every imperfection in my skin. I notice every hair that's growing out of place. I notice when the ends of my hair are dead, when I get a piercing and it's not quite right. I notice all of that, and I notice every roll on my body and every ounce of fat and everything. And for me, self-love is the hardest thing, not only to recognize, but to try to figure out. And so that's going to be something that I have to meditate on. But not only that, but you have to think of it in terms of the universe, too. I mean, how does self reflect on everything you see? How does the way you view yourself and the way you love yourself affect the way you see a daisy, the way you look up at the stars and moon? Is there a way that meditating on this point will bring back the wonder and the awe that either drew you to Wicca in the first place or drew you to a New Age metaphysical religion in the first place, like, can you get that back? And I think for me, a lot of that has to do with when I view myself in a positive light, I start viewing other things in a positive light. And a lot of it brings back the awe in me, the awe of how the stars are painted, the awe of the sunset and the sunrise, and the fact that there's something awake at every moment of the day, that there are things that have their own little niches, and I need to find my own little niche in this big world. And if something as small as an ant can find its niche, then there must be a niche for me too. And I think that is huge. And for me, I'm hoping this video cast will do just that. It'll help me find my niche. It'll help me, as a virtual diary, I can come on and I can tell you guys what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling. And if I have a bad day, then I want to be able to tell you that. I think that's important for everyone, especially if you want to view yourself in a good light. You need to accept the good and the bad. And it's a lot easier to accept the bad than the good. So I hope that when you're meditating on this point, you realize that there's more than just the bad, because that'll be a lesson that we work on together, because I know I will have a very hard time with that, and there are days I doubt myself and I doubt the path that I've chosen. And I chose to become pagan when I was very young. I always said you're born a pagan, because when I was younger, I was just awed at the creation that is our world. I was just amazed at everything, and and as a young kid, I could almost hear the fairies and see the life beat of the earth, and definitely feel it, because when you're a child, you're just so in tune to everything, and nothing's jaded you, and you're completely innocent and full of light and life and love, and you see that reflected in everything. And so I think, I don't know where I was going with that, but I think that this is something that I'm going to have to take a really big look at. That's why I decided to do this first, is that this for me is going to be the hardest meditation that I do, because looking at these concepts in such a huge manner and taking the micro to the macro and the macro back to the micro is such a huge step that it's something that I'm always going to be thinking about, and it's going to be the hardest thing, I think, for me to understand. Okay, so enough about self. We'll go down to the next one, which is, like I said, we're going clockwise, so this is the bottom right point of this star. And that one is passion. And according to Starhawk, passion is the force of emotion that gives color and depth and vitality of life, and vitality to life. Joy, sorrow, ecstasy, anger, fear, pain, love, the goddess manifests in all human emotions. Oops, screen went dim. Manifests in all human emotions. We cannot feel any of them to their full intensity unless we are willing to face them all. This one is an easier concept for me to understand, and it goes back to the good and the bad. This point, to me, is really all about the fact that you have to be passionate about everything. You can't just choose some things to be passionate. You can't be passionately happy unless you can be passionately sad, if that makes sense. To me, what makes things so joyous, what makes things the absolute high that they can be, is the polarity in it, is that with life comes death, and with death comes birth, and with birth comes life again, and it's a cycle. And even though a loved one passes, it's not necessarily all bad. It hurts, it is awful, it's not fun to deal with, but with their passing, you have to remember all the good times, and you have to remember that this is shaping you to who you're going to be. And it's amazing to me when you see a baby at a funeral, because you have to look and you're like, this came from that. That baby will go through its own journey, and eventually it will die. And like I said, death is not a bad thing necessarily. It hurts, it sucks, but at the end of the day, going through all of the losses and going through all of the good times is what makes you who you are. It helps create that sense of self. It helps create and appreciate the passion of the good. So having that polarity really represents us and everything we are, and the creation that was put into us, and the god and the goddess, and just human emotion in general. And not just human emotion, divine emotion. I mean, if you truly believe, then I truly believe that when I am sad, the gods are sad. The gods rejoice when I rejoice, and the gods cry when I cry. And it's that passion that that created me to begin with. That passion, that love of life, that love of the creation that's being created, that detail that was put into me, everything that was brought us together and brought us to who we are is an act of passion. Every piece of art that's out there, every song that was ever written, every dance that was ever danced, everything, it's all because we feel. We feel the good, we feel the bad, we feel everything. Okay, I'm back. My rabbit is not causing trouble like I thought he was. So we just talked about passion. So now we're going to the left bottom, and that one's pride. And Starhawk says pride encourages us to create, to do, to share, to grow, and to enjoy the rightful fruits of our achievement. True pride is not based on comparisons or competitions. It is the absolute sense of one's inner worth. Pride carries with it the responsibility of acting in accordance with one's self-respect and respect for self and others. So, I mean, obviously all of these interconnect, but to me, I think that sense of pride that Starhawk is talking about is the ultimate achievement point, I guess you could say, because knowing what you're worth is something that so few people do, and people know what they're worth. People, I mean, I get stepped on all the time, I know that, but being able to say, no, I don't deserve this, no, I'm worth more than this, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And then on the flip side, being able to say, this is what I deserve, this is what I'm worth, this is where I want to go, this is what I want to do, is not righteous to me. It's not, it's you can have pride and be humble. And I think that the word pride may not be the right word to use in this sense, because it's not righteous. It's not, this sense of pride isn't what people assume it to be when you say pride. This sense of pride is humbling. It's knowing that, it's knowing your limits. It's knowing who and what and why you can do things and what you can't do, and being able to say what you can do is huge. Don't put yourself out on a limb. Be the root. Offer people a hand, offer people a chance to help them, but don't be that limb for someone to climb. To me, this pride, your pride in yourself, your pride in your work, shouldn't be arrogance. It shouldn't be righteous, is really the only word I can use to describe it. It should be something that comes from within. It shouldn't be, I'm better than you, you're better than me. Like, it shouldn't be that. It should be, I am good for me and you are good for you. That does not make one of us better. That makes us the same, but in different ways. And that being different is what makes us unique. That being able to draw, that being able to stand up in front of thousands of people and speak, that being able to sing, that being able to just stand in a crowded hallway and not be afraid, should be, if that's what makes you proud, then that's good. You don't have to be perfect to be proud. You don't have to be righteous to be proud. You don't have to be stepped on. You don't have to be the leader to be proud. You can be a proud follower. You can be happily following someone, but you should know what you're following and what it's worth. Because if it's not worth what you are worth, it's not worth following, and it's not worth fleeting it either. I don't know what else. I want to say so much more about these, but I don't know what else to say. It's all just beyond my reach, you know what I mean? And it's definitely something that I'm going to be learning, and learning for years to come. And I guess that brings us to the last point in the star, which would be the leftmost point, and that's power. And Starhawk says power is the energy, the inner power, not the power over others. When the 5 points are in balance, life force flows freely, filling us with vitality. Power is integrity, creativity, courage, the mark of a person who is whole. And it goes back, I guess, with, like I said, everything connects, and it's the perfect balance that makes you a whole person. It's not being righteous. It's not having to, or being able to feel everything. Knowing who you are, knowing you're unique, knowing that you are created divinely and that you are created equally with other people. It really should be humbling, and you don't need power over other people if you have power over yourself. And I think that having power over yourself is the biggest thing. And I'm not saying learn to control yourself. I'm saying know when enough is enough. Know when you've reached your limits. Know when you need to not push other people. Because pushing other people it's control, it's not power. you should be powerful by yourself. You should be powerful within a group. You should have pride in yourself. You should have pride in your group. You should be passionate about everything you're doing and the way your life connects with other people. And most of all, you should learn to be yourself. And even if you don't think yourself is good enough, I promise it is. I promise that you were created with such a purpose and such a uniqueness that you aren't being overlooked in the grand scheme of things. That every little thing you do affects someone. And even if you don't think it does, it does. And I think the best example is I work in a retail pharmacy, and I know that a customer can make or break my day. So when you go in someplace and you just say, "Hi, how are you? How you doing? You guys are doing a great job," it really affects someone. And it doesn't seem like a huge thing, but to that person, it's everything. We had people down the aisle, we had people in lines all over the place, and some woman just said very loudly, "You guys are doing great. Keep up the good work. You girls are fantastic." And it made all of us feel amazing. And it's such a little thing. She didn't have to do it. She didn't have to say it. She didn't have to even come to our pharmacy, and she did. And it was such, after having such a horrible day, it was such an empowering moment to know that people recognize us and people think we're doing a good job when we feel like we're not, and we feel horrible. We felt just flat out horrible about the day we were having. And for someone to know that we were doing our best and to recognize that, it means a lot. So even your small gestures mean something to someone, and you were put there to do them. So whenever you have the chance, do them. And not Rosemary. I keep going back to Rosemary Gladstar. Can you tell I really want to do herbalism? Starhawk says to meditate on the points that connect the star. And when you start conceptualizing them in that way, it becomes a whole lot more interesting. So when you look at the star, the points that connect are sex and passion, and power and self, and sex and pride and self, and passion and power. And I guess I want to leave you guys all thinking about what it is and encouraging you guys to do this meditation. And I hope that, like me, you get a lot out of it and you keep going back to it, because I know doing the meditation just once isn't going to be enough. I know that this is a meditation that I'm going to be able to keep doing and keep doing and keep doing and keep doing. And each time I go back to it, it's going to be a new experience. And I guess with that, I'm just going to say bye.